So in this video, we are going to be talking about the invisible ceiling limiting high performer. You don't rise to the levels of your goals. You fall to the level of your identity. Because if your identity is 6 figures and your goal is 7, your identity wins every single time, my friend. And no amount of hustle, hacks, or hard work will ever change that until you change the thing underneath everything else. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 3 layers of the invisible ceiling and why most coaching only addresses one of them, and the exact 4-step sequence I use with my clients to break through all 3 of them. The 4th step is the one that almost nobody is teaching. It's the reason most identity work doesn't actually stick. Stay until the end. This step changes everything. I'm Jeff Faldon. I help high-performing entrepreneurs break through the invisible ceilings their conscious mind can't see, using hypnosis, subconscious clearing, and identity work that gets to the root in weeks, not years. If this work speaks to something deeper in you, hit subscribe. New videos. I drop new videos every week on the inner game of high-level success. Smash like if this is already landing. And in the comments below, tell me one thing. Where do you feel the ceiling most in your life right now? Money, visibility, relationships, body. The ceiling shows up somewhere specific. Name yours. I read every comment. Now, let's get into it. 3 things on the table today. 1, why identity always beats goals in the long run. The mechanism is simple, and once you see it, you'll understand why most personal development never actually changes anything. 2, the 3 layers of the ceiling: worthiness, safety, and alignment. Most coaching only touches on the first one. Real breakthrough requires all 3. And 3, the 4-step identity upgrade sequence, the exact methodology. Step 1 is the one most people get wrong. Step 4 is the one almost nobody includes. Let's start with what almost no one in personal development is willing to admit. Pattern break number 1. Goals don't fail because they're too big. Goals fail because the identity required to hold them was never built. Most ambitious people are running this exact pattern. They set a goal, they execute the strategy, they exhaust themselves trying to push through, and the identity underneath it all stays exactly where it was. Then they wonder why they keep getting the same result. The goal pulls them forward, but the identity drags them back. And in a tug of war between conscious goals and subconscious identity, identity wins every time. Here's a mechanism most people miss. Your subconscious mind sets goals. Conscious mind sets goals. Your subconscious mind runs identity. The conscious mind processes about 40 bits of information per second. The subconscious processes around 11 million bits per second. That's not a small gap. That's a ratio of 200,000 to 1, which means the part of you setting the goal is about 1% of a system actually deciding the outcome. The rest is identity. The rest is rewiring. The rest is what the subconscious has decided is true about who you are, and it will defend that truth at all costs. Even if the truth is making you miserable, even if the truth is keeping you broke, even if the truth is slowly killing you. So let me show you what it looks like in the real life. I worked with a serial entrepreneur who was also a pastor. By the time he came to me, he hit it big in business. Real money, real impact, real recognition. But he was losing motivation. Something underneath had gone quiet. We started working together, and with a relatively short window, his business jumped about 60%. He found a new vision. We ended up building a men's movement together that changed the lives of hundreds of men. Real impact, real revenue, real meaning. It was at the top of his game, and then he stopped doing the work. Not the business work, the inner work, the identity work, the subconscious work that had gotten him to the level in the first place. And with a relatively short period of time after that, things started to come apart. Financial trouble, strain, loss. The business he had built, the impact he had created, started slipping away. Not because the strategy stopped working, not because the market shifted, because the identity required to hold what he had built had been built through the work. And when the work stopped, the identity didn't continue to grow. The external level outpaced the internal level again. And the system did what the system always does when external reality exceeds the internal capacity. It corrected. It pulled him back to this level his identity was actually built to hold. Same man, same intelligence, same talent, same opportunities, a different reality. Because the identity stopped growing when the work stopped. And see, this is true almost nobody in the coaching world is willing to say out loud. You can't outperform your self-image. You can sprint past it for a while. You can will yourself past it for months, even years. You can hire the right coach, follow the right system, execute the right plan, and eventually the identity reasserts itself. And whatever you reached, you lose. Or you maintain it at the cost of your health, or your marriage, or your peace. You can't outperform your self-image, ever. So the question becomes, what is the self-image actually made of? Most coaching treats it like one thing, one ceiling, one identity. It isn't. There are 3 layers. Until all 3 layers are addressed, the breakthrough won't hold. So here are the 3 layers of the ceiling, in order, from the surface to the foundation. Layer 1, worthiness, the unconscious answer to, do I deserve this? This is the layer most personal development addresses. Affirmations, positive thinking, mindset work. I am worthy, I am enough, I am deserving. And for some people, working on this layer alone creates real change. But for most high achievers, the ones with the most ambitious goals, worthiness alone never breaks the ceiling, because there are 2 more layers underneath. See, layer number 2 is safety. The unconscious answer to, is this safe for me to have? This is where things get interesting, because deserving and safe are not the same. You can fully believe you deserve $1 million, and your nervous system can simultaneously believe $1 million will get you killed. And if you grew up in chaos around money, fights, scarcity, sudden loss, judgment from family for having too much or too little, your safety set point is locked. And the moment your business approaches it, your nervous system reads the number itself as a threat. Worthiness work won't touch this layer. You need somatic work. You need nervous system regulation. You need the body to learn at a cellular level that the new reality is safe. And then there's layer 3, the one almost nobody is teaching: alignment. The unconscious answer to, is what I'm building actually mine to build? Alignment isn't worthiness. Alignment isn't safety. Alignment is the question of whether the goals you've been chasing, the business you've been growing, the life you've been constructing are actually congruent with who you most deeply are. Because here's what I've watched in client after client. You can be fully worthy, you can have a nervous system that feels safe with success, and the business you're building can still slowly destroy you. Because somewhere along the way, you started building something that wasn't yours. Maybe you built it from a wound. Maybe you built it to prove something. Maybe you built it to win the approval of a parent or a spouse or a community. Whatever the reason, when the business you're building is misaligned with who you actually are, your body knows long before the mind is willing to admit it. Let me give you an example. I worked with a high-achieving entrepreneur who came to me in the middle of a major moment in his career. He had just had a phenomenal year. He was in the process of closing his next deal. On paper, everything was working. Underneath the paper, his body was falling apart. Autoimmune issues, chronic stress, the kind of inflammation that doesn't come from one bad week, the kind that builds up over years of doing something the body is quietly objecting to. His marriage was disintegrating. He would tell me one thing about how his marriage was going. His wife would tell me another. The kids could feel the misalignment. The energy between him and his wife was breaking down. And the children feel everything. We're carrying the cost. When we did the subconscious work, we didn't find a worthiness problem. He was worthy of everything he'd built. We didn't find a safety problem. His nervous system could handle the size of success. What we found was alignment. The business he was building had been built from one version of him. And the version of him underneath that, the deeper, truer version, had not signed off on the same direction. The body knew it. The marriage knew. Kids knew. The only person who didn't fully know yet was him. And after the work, and we did real work, deep work that touched the layer where his actual self had been quietly trying to get his attention for years. Everything started realigning. The marriage healed deeply. Real healing, not the surface kind. The kids felt the difference immediately. The family connected in a way it hadn't in years. And his business, it didn't fall apart. He's still capable of building. He's still operating, but he's now recognizing other opportunities. He's beginning to take a different path, one that actually fits who he is underneath the version of him that built the original empire. That, my friend, is the alignment layer. And until it's addressed, your body, your marriage, your relationships, and eventually your business will keep telling you the truth and your mind has been refusing to hear. You don't have one ceiling, you have three: worthiness, safety, and alignment. And the lowest of the three is the one running your life right now. So how do you actually clear all three? Most personal development gives you tools for layer one and prays the rest sorts itself out. It doesn't. There's a sequence that works with all three layers, and it has to happen in this order. Skip a step and the breakthrough won't stick. This is the methodology I use with every client I take on. 4 steps, each one matters. Here it is. Step 1, clear the old. Before you can install a new identity, the old one has to be acknowledged, not bypassed, not transcended, acknowledged. Most personal development tries to skip this. Just think positive. Just visualize the new one. Just affirm. Subconscious doesn't release an old identity by being ignored. It releases it by being seen. What is the old identity protecting you from? What did it solve when you were a child? What does it still solve even now? Until you can answer those questions, the old identity stays, because to your subconscious, it's still doing its job. And it won't lay down its job until you thank it for what the work it's done. Step 2, install the new. This is where hypnosis becomes the most effective tool I have ever found. Affirmations work at the conscious level. The conscious mind is the smallest part of the system. You can affirm a new identity 10,000 times, and the subconscious will keep filtering it back out because the new identity contradicts the old wiring. Hypnosis bypasses the filter. We bring the brain into theta, the state where the original identity was installed in the first place. And when we install the new identity at the same depth, not as a thought, as a knowing, same brain, new operating system. The mechanism is simple. The results are profound. So I'll tell you about a client that showed up. In. She was the top of her industry when she came to me. By every external measure, she had made it. Spent, and I'm not exaggerating, 30 years in therapy before our first session. 30 years of doing conscious work, understanding her patterns, naming the wounds, talking through her history. She had insights she could write a book about, and the same patterns kept playing out in her life. She kept attracting partners who took advantage of her. She kept giving away what she built. She kept undervaluing what she had to offer, speaking for free, undercharging for her work, handing her business to people who eventually had to be bought out, all while understanding exactly why she was doing it. The understanding wasn't the problem. The wiring was. And we did one session of subconscious work. One. And we found that moment. Her father had told her she was not going to be smart enough to build the business she eventually built. She had carried that decision in her subconscious since childhood. And every adult success had been quietly running against it. Not because she didn't know that. She knew that. 30 years of therapy had told her that. But knowing it and clearing it at the depth where it lived, those are two completely different things. After one session, things started moving in ways 30 years of therapy hadn't moved them. She rewrote a book she had already written because she could see how the original version had been written from the victim identity she was finally releasing. She started charging real prices for her speaking. She built high-ticket coaching offers, real ones, and started landing $30,000 deals. She sold a business that had been built on the old wound, exited a toxic partnership she had stayed in for a long time, and now she's living a life of freedom, built on the version that the old wiring had been keeping locked underneath for decades. Same brain, same intelligence, same insight she had carried for 30 years. Different access. Insight works on conscious mind. Subconscious work goes to where wiring actually lives. And until you go there, no amount of understanding is going to change the patterns that are running underneath your understanding. Anchor it somatically. Here's what most identity work skips: the body. The subconscious doesn't live in the brain alone. It lives in the nervous system, in the body, in the breath, in the muscles that have been holding the old identity in place for decades. If you upgrade the identity in your mind, but the body still patterns the old version through tension, through breath, through posture, through reactivity, the old identity will reassert itself within weeks. Anchoring means giving the body experiences that match the new identity. Movement, breath, sensation, action. The body has to learn the new wiring isn't a story, it's the truth. Step 4, and this is the one almost no one is teaching. Prove it through aligned action. Small, consistent evidence that the subconscious cannot deny. Most identity work stops at step 3. Install the identity, anchor it to the body, hope it sticks. But the subconscious is built on evidence. And until you start acting like the new identity is real, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when it feels fraudulent, even when the old voice screams, the subconscious will keep treating the new identity as theory. Step 4 is what makes it real: aligned action. The smallest version of the new self repeated daily until the system stops doubting it. That's the sequence. Clear the old, install the new, anchor the body, prove it through action. Skip a step and the breakthrough won't hold. Run them in this order and the ceiling moves. Sometimes weeks, sometimes in a session, but always, always when all 4 steps are honored, Here's the question I want you to sit with this week. Of the 3 layers, worthiness, safety, alignment, which one feels lowest for you right now? Don't analyze, just feel. The first one that comes up is your answer. Ask yourself the harder question. Which step in the sequence am I currently skipping? Are you trying to install a new identity without clearing the old? Are you doing the mindset work without anchoring it in your body? Are you working on yourself without proving it through action? Drop your answer in the comments. The layer and the step, sometimes saying it out loud, is where the actual work begins. I read every comment. If this gave you the framework you can actually use, the next video on the screen right now is how hypnosis reprograms the subconscious mind. What actually happens. Where this video gave you what, this one walks you through exactly what is happening in the brain during a hypnosis session, why it works when affirmations don't, and the science behind step 2 of the sequence we just covered. Click it and I'll meet you over there. And remember, live like your life depends on it, because it does.